All right, I'm going to move over to the wide receiver room where you already know that there's going to be a Khalil Shakir who's going to dominate, right? He had 120 targets last season. He played 724 snaps, had 995 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he was the king, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw Stefon Diggs go away. We've seen these receivers leave Buffalo, but Shakir came in and did a great thing. Dalton Kincaid was the next best receiver in terms of targets overall, 84 targets for the tight end position there. But after that, it was Keon Coleman, it was Mac Hollins, it was Curtis Samuel, it was Amari Cooper. Obviously, Amari Cooper is gone now. Dawson Knox, the tight end, MVS was in that mix. Like all these guys, right? And they were all just guys at that point. Where Keon Coleman came in, he had 65 targets. He played 723 snaps, had 32 receptions, 578 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Did Keon Coleman last season. So here's the thing, right? If you look at that, and then you look at them bringing in Joshua Palmer from the Chargers, my question is then, who becomes that person? Who becomes that guy after? Because Dalton Kincaid probably stands to be another target monster like he was last year. So now you're getting into that or a second receiver, third pass catching option in there, right? Because Joshua Palmer, in and of his own right,
Yeah.
comes in after having a pretty decent season with the Chargers. 65 targets, 39 receptions, 584 yards, only 1 touchdown. That's not really all that glaring, but still 584 yards, right? Where Keon Coleman last year still had that 556 yards, or yeah, 556 yards. Not a lot of separation in that, right? 29
Yeah.
receptions for Coleman, 39 for Palmer. We've seen Palmer produce like he did in 2022 for the Chargers, 769 yards on 107 targets and 72 receptions. He had 3 touchdowns that season. So who do you give the edge to, the new shiny toy in Joshua Palmer or the established? And here's the thing, with Josh Allen, we know that he can make anybody relevant, right? That's not even a problem. 480 total targets for the receivers or pass catchers, I guess, in total last year from Josh Allen. But does this kill Keon Coleman's upside, or does this give Joshua Palmer the ability to come in and be the second receiver? I say, for me, give me the Coleman side of this because Coleman already has a season working with Allen. Palmer's going to get used to it. We know Palmer can spread the field. We know he can do great things downfield. Right, his average reception was 15 yards with the Chargers last year, so I think he's going to be that deep ball threat, but I think Coleman's going to get a majority of the work and really a lot of the trust from Josh Allen. So I'll take the Keon Coleman side of this over Joshua Palmer. And sorry, one more thing though, as you
Yeah.
look at the ADP for this too, ADP for Keon Coleman in a PPR is 114. He's going off as 114 consensus, whereas Josh Palmer here is going off as the 190th. So I think everybody agrees in that instance, but it's something worth paying attention to, though, because Josh Palmer should be drafted in really, really deep leagues because I think he's still going to have value.
So I think the argument here is how impressive has Keon Coleman been? And if you want to go back to his college days, he had 2 seasons with Michigan State and then his final year as a junior with Florida State. 50 receptions, 658 yards. The thing that did stand out is the touchdowns, right? And when we talk about getting into the red zone and how can you accumulate points, it's getting those guys that can score touchdowns for you. Um, Last year he did have 4 receiving touchdowns in 13 games played. I'm not going to take a whole heck of a lot away from his rookie season because like you mentioned, the upside for Keon Coleman is definitely there. With Joshua Palmer, you know that he's going to get you 500 to 600 receiving yards per season. The touchdown totals haven't really been there for him. I know Keon Coleman's gotten off to a little bit of a rough start to the training camp, but I think that can get corrected as they get more practices and things like that under his belt. And like you mentioned with Josh Allen, he can find ways to get his receivers to look really, really good. And look, I think the targets are going to continue to be there for him. Rod, do you have that number in front of you? How many targets he had last season?
The targets for Keon Coleman, I do. It's
Yeah.
sitting right here. He had 65 targets last season.
And that's
on
including that. I think,
723 snaps.
yeah. So I think that's just going to have to continue. And I think that's going to involve for him, going for, and I always say this, and I always mention this on the props pod, is that going from the collegiate level to the NFL season and going from playing from Saturdays to Sundays, it's a bigger transition, I think, than people realize, especially obviously for these players. And I know the reports, at least the first couple of days, like I mentioned, for Keon Coleman haven't been too positive, but they drafted him in the second round for a reason, and they saw him as a potential number 2 guy, eventually maybe a number 1 guy, maybe in the next couple of seasons for this Buffalo Bills offense. But I think that I agree with you, and like you mentioned, the ADP numbers do agree there as well, that I wouldn't be surprised, right, if we saw double the numbers of what we saw for Keon Coleman from year over year, from his rookie season to his sophomore season in the NFL. The only question that we do have is the drop passes, that if that's something that can improve. But having 4 touchdowns in 13 games on 57 targets and 29 receptions, if you could get in the realm of close to 50 catches and get to 800, 900 receiving yards and get 6+ touchdowns, I think that he can be a very, very solid piece for you to have on your bench and from a week to week basis. So I'm with you on Keon Coleman as well.
Yeah, and considering Amari Cooper's gone, Curtis Samuel's gone, that's a couple of big target monsters there. Yeah, if he could just up that catch rate, right? 49%, it's not where you want him, but he's a young kid and he's got a lot of talent. So I love it.